it's great. I'm really cheered to know that we've now cut back on Dodd-Frank because you can explain to the group how the big banks have been suffering under Dodd-Frank. We just give some.
I got to tell you, when they say they're crying all the way to the bank, I mean, it's just a gross understatement. One of the, objective facts really, even before Trump, I mean, Trump has taken it to a different level, but they really don't mean anything in the Washington policymaking circles. And so when Dodd-Frank was passed, and this is exactly the same that what happened after the Great Depression, and the laws were passed after the Great Depression. All the banks and then said, it's going to be a socialist country. There'll be no banks. We'll all be living in the streets. There'll be no mortgages, no homes because of onerous regulation, and the government will control everything. This time they just said, you'll destroy the banks. There'll be no profits and no revenues, and therefore we won't be able to lend to people, and therefore everybody won't be able to buy homes and cars, and there'll be no prosperity in America.
And our market share is going to be destroyed.
And I mean, everything, right? It's like Obama was going to be running the financial system personally from the White House. And yet here we are. We've just hit the 5th record revenue, profits, and this year bonuses for the financial industry. Their profits in the first quarter of 2008, the first quarter, 58 billion, if I'm remembering right, 58 billion. The profits in the first quarter went up 13% over the first quarter last year before the effect of the tax bill. So the pure profits were 13%. Add the tax bill, it was 28. So it's just objectively false that the financial reform law or the regulations have in any way interfered with the bank's revenue, profitability, bonuses,
so
and importantly, lending.
So why don't you just go home then? Why?
Well, I mean, it's somewhere in here. There's a little discussion about, and this gets back to my colleagues who I'm actually I'm huge fans of and honored to be here with. Sometimes facts don't mean as much as, I don't know, money, for example. And and in fact, I wanted to, if I can, there's this great article, it's just in the paper, and you say, why are the three of us here and are we connected? So there's this article in the New York Times called "The First 2020 Race is Underway, Scrambling for New York Donors." And so the information in here, the factual information, comes from this weird little group called OpenSecrets, right? And that's where everybody gets their data, the 800-pound data gorilla right here. I mean, she says, we're just this little organization. Yeah, it's a little organization. Hold on. And then what does it talk about? It talks about money and politics. Issue 1. I mean, everywhere you look. And then how does it tie together? Where are they where does the information come from where they get the money? They're all on Wall Street. I mean, and it details how all the money and all the candidates who are thinking of running for 2020, they had their reception, their meeting at the Carlyle Group or at Morgan Stanley or throughout the financial sector.
But aren't people, isn't the danger that people are just numb to the stuff that you guys work on? They just sort of accept it like the weather. I mean, when I was reporting the book and I would talk to people about, money and politics, it was like, yeah, and it could rain tomorrow too. It's just, that's just the state of affairs in this country. And I remember having this conversation. We had a brown bag lunch in your office with your staff. The most psyched up, smart, totally jazzed about everything they're doing, group of people you can imagine. And I started feeling really bad about asking this question, but of course, I
not so bad you didn't ask them.
I didn't feel that bad. So, and I basically said something to the effect, why are you doing this? Donald Trump is president. Now you're worried about, some congressman who has a conflict of interest because he took a donation for. Look at the White House for credit. I mean, nobody cares. And you said.
And I said, unless and until Nick Neihart is successful in bringing public financing to the federal level, we need to know who's giving the money, where it's going, and why, and that needs to be available to every American, because if and when they realize, oh crap, I own this government, it's on me, it's my responsibility to be engaged and to make change. I need to get smart, we want them to be able to come to us to get smart on the money, which is just one facet, it's just one window on Washington, but it's a critical one.
It's a big window. I have this idea that I floated in the book that I just, since you're stuck here for the next 15 or 20 minutes, I'll just float again. And that is the final use of all your information, I think, should be that whenever you see a congressional hearing on C-SPAN, you have, the nameplate of the member of Congress who's asking questions. Under the person's name, in parentheses, should be $140,000. Whatever the amount of money that congressman has taken from the industry or industries that are the subject of the hearing, that should be listed under the person's name. Now, she has that information. She absolutely, positively, you could get that information in minutes. And I wish that some, and the New York Times, if they're writing about a hearing, Senator Schumer, parentheses, $482,000, close parentheses, said that the health care bill is X. And if you just embarrass people to death if you do that. Why can't somebody do that?
You're the guy who created Court TV. You should know how to get those loaded on the...
I mean, if I ran C-SPAN, I would do that, which of course is why no one would let me run C-SPAN. But I think that is, it is just so relevant. I think I told you that I testified at a hearing reluctantly after my healthcare thing came out, and it was about transparency, and I scrapped the speech that I had submitted for the record and just went through how much each member of the finance committee had gotten from the healthcare industry, which was a lot of fun. I didn't get invited back, which was actually the purpose, because journalists shouldn't be testifying in hearings anyway.
It also gets back to why we do it. I think, Justice Brandeis was right a long time ago, which is sunlight is the best disinfectant. And special interest in the non-common good special interest thrives and succeeds in darkness and dark corners. Nothing calls them out, and nothing makes advances better than what OpenSecrets is doing and frankly what Nick is doing, and calling them out and shining a light on it. We do the same thing when Wall Street doesn't go up to Congress and say, here's a bill, we'd like you all to co-sign it and co-sponsor it, and we'd like it to go through the regular process and have hearings where you listen to both sides and you make a good judgment on the merits. The merits and sunlight scare them. And so a big part of what we do is shining a light on it. And ultimately that light, I don't know, I can't compete with Nick's metaphors, but ultimately that light will ignite enough interest / disgust that people will be responsive, and they are responsive to it. One